The situation surrounding the Lakers' future at the center position is becoming more intriguing by the day, and a new name has entered the conversation once again: Walker Kessler. With some reported tension brewing in Utah, the young big man might just become available sooner than expected, and naturally, that sends a ripple through Lakers Nation. After all, if you're a franchise constantly looking to bolster its roster and secure long-term assets, keeping an eye on a guy like Kessler is not just smart, it's essential. Let's break it down. Kessler is only 24 years old, having just celebrated his birthday this past July. He's young, he's got a ton of upside, and more importantly, he's already making a name for himself as one of the best defensive centers in the league. Seriously, outside of Victor Wembanyama, you'd be hard-pressed to find a young big man who's already delivering this level of defensive impact. By almost every major defensive metric, Kessler is elite. In fact, in some key areas, he even outperforms Wembanyama. That's not just hype, that's backed up by the numbers. Now, it's important to be realistic here. If the Lakers were to go after Walker Kessler, it wouldn't be as a backup. You don't trade for a player of his caliber, pay him starting center money, and then stick him behind someone else. So this whole conversation hinges on what happens with DeAndre Ayton. If Ayton thrives this season, and there's every reason to believe he will, then there's less urgency to bring in someone like Kessler. And honestly, it hurts a little to say that, because Kessler is the kind of player you'd want anchoring your defense for the next decade. But let's talk about Ayton for a minute. This guy might actually be the perfect prototype to pair with Luka Doncic. He's athletic, he's got that vertical spacing as a lob threat, and he's not just someone who relies on others to feed him buckets. Ayton can score on his own, back to the basket, turn over either shoulder, finish with touch, and yes, still punish defenses in the pick and roll. He brings a mix of finesse and power that is rare in today's NBA bigs. And when you factor in the possibility of him reviving his outside shot, even extending to the three-point line, the offensive versatility becomes that much more dangerous. Ayton's success, however, creates a different kind of pressure. If he balls out in a Lakers uniform this season, is there a risk he prices himself out of LA? It's a fair question. He could play his way into a contract that the front office just can't match if they want to keep flexibility moving forward. On the flip side, if Ayton underperforms or just doesn't fit the system the way they hope, then they're back to square one next offseason. And that's where Kessler comes in again as a potential contingency plan. In that light, it's clear why Rob Pelinka and the Lakers front office might want to keep tabs on Kessler, just in case things with Ayton don't work out. But if we're being brutally honest, if the choice comes down to one or the other right now, DeAndre Ayton still makes more sense for this team. The Lakers are trying to win today. This isn't a long-term rebuilding project. You've still got LeBron James, who, for as long as he's here, is going to push the team toward immediate contention. And if that's your window, you want the guy who's already proven he can hold his own in the playoffs, who has experience against top-tier competition, and who's ready to contribute on both ends of the court from day one. Kessler, while incredibly promising, still needs refinement offensively. Yes, he's shown flashes. He's even hinted at being able to stretch the floor, maybe even be a short-roll playmaker. But those are tools still under construction. With Ayton, those tools are already in the bag. That makes a huge difference when you're building around a star like Luka, who thrives with bigs that can catch lobs, make quick reads, and operate in tight spaces when defenses collapse. That said, it's not just about what happens this season. Let's say Ayton plays well, but demands a huge payday. Something in the $35 to $40 million range. That's when things get tricky, because while the Lakers might be willing to pay Ayton something closer to $25 to $30 million per year, pushing toward that max number might make the front office hesitate. And if that happens, suddenly Kessler becomes not just a fallback option, but the smarter long-term play. You could conceivably bring in Kessler at a much more manageable salary, say $18 to $20 million annually, and then use the remaining cap space or assets to round out the rest of the roster. That's a strategic move. It's not about choosing the cheaper player just to save money. It's about building a more complete, deeper team that can compete on multiple fronts. It's also worth noting that Kessler isn't going to be flying under the radar for long. Teams are already circling. Boston reportedly had interest in him recently, And with their own roster decisions looming, particularly around guys like Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, you can bet they'll be back in the market for a defensive anchor sooner rather than later. That means if the Lakers want to make a move, they have to act fast and smart. Still, even if the opportunity presents itself, trading for Kessler right now doesn't make a ton of sense unless Ayton completely flames out or walks away in free agency. Giving up assets for a player who wouldn't start immediately and would command a solid salary is not the kind of move you make if you're trying to maximize a championship window, especially when there are other holes in the roster that need attention: backup center, wing defense, maybe even another ball handler. Those are spots where the Lakers could invest resources and get more immediate returns. Now, if Kessler were somehow available for a bargain, say if Utah just wanted to move him for minimal cost, then sure, the conversation changes. But that's highly unlikely. He's too valuable, too young, and too talented to be moved for cheap. And again, no team is paying $18 to $20 million for a guy just to be insurance off the bench. It's not realistic. So the idea of just in case becomes less viable when you consider the logistics. That said, there's always a scenario where the Lakers might pivot. If Ayton leaves or disappoints, then going after someone like Kessler makes perfect sense. You'd be locking in a young, elite defensive center who still has room to grow offensively. And if you're planning for a post-LeBron Lakers, one where the timeline shifts toward younger, more developmental talent, then Kessler fits that mold to perfection. Imagine building around a trio of Luka Doncic, Austin Reeves, and Walker Kessler. That a young core with serious upside and the kind of defensive backbone you can build a contender around. One idea that's especially intriguing is pairing Kessler with Anthony Davis in a two-big lineup. Can you even imagine trying to score inside against those two? It would be a nightmare for opposing offenses. You'd be putting out arguably the two best interior defenders in the league at the same time. The paint would be a no-fly zone. Of course, that kind of lineup depends on spacing, and Kessler would have to develop that outside shot further. But even without it, the defensive impact could be game-changing. Bottom line, Kessler is a phenomenal talent with a bright future. The Lakers would be wise to keep him on their radar. But for now, all signs point to giving DeAndre Ayton the runway to prove he can be the guy. He's more seasoned, more polished offensively, and better suited to help the Lakers win right now. The potential with Kessler is huge, but if Ayton delivers on his upside, especially in a system built around Luka's playmaking, it's going to be tough to justify looking elsewhere. Still, the NBA is all about staying flexible. Things change fast. Injuries happen. Player dynamics shift. Contracts get tricky. So even while Ayton gets the starting nod and the benefit of the doubt heading into the season, the Lakers should absolutely keep tabs on how things evolve in Utah and beyond. Because in this league, the teams that stay ahead of the curve, the ones that plan for what's next while staying focused on what's now, those are the teams that find sustained success. Another layer to this entire conversation is how Walker Kessler's skill set might evolve over the next couple of seasons. He's not just some shot-blocking specialist who parks himself in the paint and waits to swat shots away. There are hints, real flashes, that he could become much more than just a rim protector. You've seen him make high IQ reads in the post, pass out of doubles, and even knock down the occasional jumper when left open. He's shown signs that he could one day develop into a legitimate two-way force, and that's where things get interesting when projecting long-term value. Now, is he there yet? No, not entirely. But when you look at the trajectory, the potential is undeniable. And for a team like the Lakers, who might be heading into a transition era once LeBron eventually moves on or retires, having a foundational piece like Kessler, someone who's still developing but already elite on one end, becomes incredibly appealing. The idea isn't just about finding players for the current version of this team. It's also about identifying the guys who could define the next era of Lakers basketball. Kessler absolutely fits that mold. But again, everything comes down to timing. If DeAndre Ayton delivers the kind of season many expect, somewhere close to the level he reached during Phoenix's finals run a few years ago, then it changes everything. The narrative shifts. The urgency to chase after someone like Kessler drops significantly. Because if Ayton becomes a consistent, reliable presence in the middle, then the Lakers have their answer at the 5 for the foreseeable future. Not only that, but it would also mean you're getting the most out of Luka Doncic's prime years, which is the most important goal in all of this. Ayton's upside isn't just theoretical either. People forget that his best basketball came when he had an elite playmaker running the offense. With Chris Paul setting the table, Ayton looked like a potential all-star. Now, plug him into an offense with Luka, a more dynamic, more unpredictable, and more physically dominant playmaker, and you've got the recipe for something special. Luka lives for those lob opportunities, and Ayton is tailor-made to finish them. He's got soft hands, great timing, and can finish above the rim with ease. But unlike a pure rim runner, Ayton can also face up, take a jumper, or use a spin move to get to the basket. That offensive variety is exactly what you need when you're building a contender. There's also the element of buy-in. Ayton has spoken publicly about wanting to improve defensively. He's acknowledged that rim protection and defensive effort are areas where he can grow, and being on a team like the Lakers, where defense is always emphasized, could push him to take that next step. If that happens, and you get even a slightly improved version of Ayton on defense to go along with his already solid offensive skill set, you're talking about a complete player. One that's already in the system, already meshing with your star, and doesn't require you to give up more assets or reshuffle your cap sheet. But the Walker-Kessler conversation doesn't disappear. There's still a path where he becomes the better long-term investment. Even if Ayton works out in the short term, the financial aspect could force the Lakers to reconsider. If Ayton comes in and demands a contract in the upper tier, pushing close to max money, that forces tough decisions. Because you're not just paying him. You still have to pay your other core players, fill out the bench, stay under the luxury tax line if possible, and maintain flexibility for trades or signings in the future. Kessler, being younger and on a more manageable deal, gives you more breathing room. And while his offensive game still needs polishing, his defensive floor is already sky high. That gives you something extremely valuable, a defensive foundation to build around. Pair that with continued development and maybe even some growth in his perimeter shooting, and suddenly you've got a player who's doing things on both ends of the court and costing you a lot less than what a fully realized Ayton would demand. It also comes down to asset management. Trading for Kessler right now would likely require giving up picks or young players. That's where the Lakers have to tread carefully. Every asset counts when you're trying to contend and build for the future simultaneously. If you can roll with Ayton now, evaluate him for a full season, and then reassess in the offseason, that's the smarter approach. Because by then, Kessler's market might change. Utah might be more willing to deal. Or maybe another young center becomes available and shifts the landscape again. And let's not ignore what Utah is doing here. If the Jazz are indeed exploring ways to move on from Kessler, that suggests something's going on behind the scenes. It could be about role, contract expectations, or fit within their new direction. Either way, that's valuable information for the Lakers front office. Understanding why Utah might want to part ways with a high upside, defensive-minded big tells you a lot about what kind of risk you'd be taking by trading for him. That risk might be worth it next summer, but it's hard to justify right now, with Ayton in place and needing a real shot to prove himself. Before we continue, we ask that you leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any exclusive Lakers updates. Moving on, the basketball world is buzzing tonight after whispers began circulating that Kevin Durant, one of the most prolific scorers of his generation, might be ready to don the purple and gold. Sources close to the situation suggest that Durant has given a tentative yes to the Los Angeles Lakers, igniting speculation about a seismic shift in the NBA landscape. While nothing has been officially confirmed, insiders hint that discussions have moved beyond mere curiosity, suggesting that the superstar forward could be seriously considering a move that would reunite him with LeBron James, creating a pairing that has fans and analysts alike dreaming of championship glory. For weeks, the rumor mill has been churning, fueled by Durant's recent comments about seeking new challenges and playing in markets where he can make a lasting impact. The Lakers, meanwhile, have been quietly positioning themselves, hoping to entice a player of Durant's caliber with the promise of immediate title contention and a storied franchise eager to reclaim its former dominance. If Durant indeed signs on, Los Angeles would not only gain a generational talent, but also reshape the dynamics of the Western Conference, potentially altering trade strategies and free agency decisions across the league. The potential Durant-Lakers connection has sparked a frenzy on social media, with fans speculating on everything from lineup combinations to jersey sales. Analysts are weighing the risks and rewards. Durant's proven scoring and versatility could elevate the Lakers to elite status, but integrating such a high-profile talent into an already star-studded roster poses challenges in chemistry and minutes distribution. Yet, the excitement is palpable, and the very idea of Durant embracing the Lakers' legacy has injected a surge of optimism into a fanbase hungry for a new era of dominance. While the NBA community waits for confirmation, the rumor itself has taken on a life of its own. The thought of Kevin Durant walking through the doors of the Staples Center in purple and gold is enough to send shockwaves through the league, and if true, could mark one of the most electrifying off-season moves in recent memory. For now, all eyes remain on Durant and the Lakers as fans, pundits, and rival teams speculate on what could be the next defining chapter in NBA history. Stay informed exclusively about Los Angeles Lakers news. Subscribe to our channel and hit the like button to keep receiving daily updates. Also, share your opinion on the news in the comments, as your contribution is crucial for the Lakers. Stay tuned for the next video.